have a motion
Second.
motion and a second to approve the August 11th, 2021 meeting minutes. Any more discussion? All in favor of approving signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. Steven, do you want us to hold up a minute?
I think I finally got it working. It's just. Yeah, I won't go into it now. Thank you,
Okay.
though.
Okay, resolution 226-2021. That was sent out in the package. I do have so you'll see on the ones that got sent out, those were a draft and kind of a template. These ones here in front of us on the table actually have the names and the date in there. So should they be approved, we can actually sign those ones. But is there any other questions about resolution 226?
Who's currently authorized to deposit?
I think it's
Are we
probably
changing anything?
Janice, myself, and Mike. So we are changing, obviously, the clerk name and then adding one here as Cynthia is our fill-in.
How often are we depositing currently? And how's it done?
Once a week.
Say again?
Once a week,
Once a week?
sometimes twice, depending on the amount of money that I take in.
Was just a suggestion by the auditor's office to have a formal something in writing on our deposit schedule.
The only thing, my 2 cents to add to this is, going forward, if it's something that's gonna be in place for some time, do we, just run it by you guys, go by title, the mayor, the treasurer, however long we have one, city clerk.
Instead of specific names.
Do you have to have specific names?
These names are specific to the bank itself, though. So these are let's say the signers or the people that have access to the.
That was my question.
So I think you have to, every time there's a change in administration or change in these people, then you have to go to the bank and update those. And so I think,
Yeah, we do have to definitely change that on the accounts. I don't know if this
How
would be in
much
the
of a
same
hassle-
realm.
Is that a hassle to do?
A little
No.
bit. I mean,
Is
it's not really a hassle. It's just there's a process.
it'll be more of a hassle now that it's in Davenport
Right.
than it is here.
Yeah.
I think this is good, and I think, like Nathan mentioned, the auditors, the fact that they're named, every time that we then we do the signers at the first of the year, you can update the resolution for that first year and have those new people on there, and then
Sure.
it's,
Just tie this into what
We'll
happens.
just have to redo,
yeah.
Yeah. Just amend this or create another resolution.
I'm just trying to make less paperwork for everybody.
I agree.
It's the government, though, they like paperwork.
But going with that, there's no one designated, it could be any of these people.
Correct. These are the people that we are allowing to
Right.
transport and hold city funds and deposit them.
The only thing I would add here is the mayor pro tem,
Ooh.
because that person is a signer, and in the absence of the mayor, they are.
We want to add that in there this go around. We do have
There's
four
three other people,
total,
right?
yeah.
There's three other people, so that's fine. But I think
Maybe going
because
forward.
they are a signer, and they might. When I became the mayor, I was the mayor pro tem for a while because our mayor quit, so we didn't have a mayor. So
Sure.
I think it's fine to leave it as it is. But I would just make a recommendation for the next cycle.
Discussion currently limited to resolution 226.
Please. Yep. Let's get through this one. We'll move on down the line. If there is no other discussion, I'd ask for a motion to approve resolution 226-2021.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Levi, seconded by Justin. Any more discussion on 226?
Just one question. These these signers are at the bank, so in other words, if we decide to go with another bank, we'll have to fill out a whole new
Yes, I would think so. So,
Specifically, because this talks about the
US
US Bank
Bank,
branch
yeah.
in Harrington and the US Bank branch in Davenport.
yes.
The other thing I would do for future is I wouldn't have it in Davenport, because there's a US Bank branch in Reardon, and there's a US Bank branch in
Yeah.
Spokane, and so if the Davenport branch for some reason is closed,
We can go
the day
to,
that Jerry wants to go, instead of having to turn around and come back with a sack full of money, he can drive on to Reardon. I mean,
Okay.
that's,
But
again,
it's in their system. Would that work now currently? I mean, if you went to Reardon, would they still take your deposit?
Oh, yeah.
So,
we have to drive, Heather drives to Spokane to do deposits for the coffee shop, because Reardon and Davenport aren't open
right.
when she goes. So you can go to any US Bank, but I just think,
Well, I just was trying to eliminate pigeonholing, just these banks right here. And if we, I guess enough said. I don't want to convolute it up, but, like you were saying.
they have, so my experience with the auditors too is having this, like, we have one bank,
Yeah.
and that's the US Bank, and that's where we bank at. So if we ever change it, but just by saying we'll deposit at the bank, for them, that's not. say that's
maybe
really
not enough.
It's not good enough, I guess.
The city, you could say cities bank or whatever, the cities,
I mean,
we could tailor that later too,
Yeah.
I guess, but I mean, it
Doesn't
sounds
make
like
it
it's,
general.
yeah, like a credit
Where's
union, if we go to there.
My thought, putting the specific bank there, was accountability for the person handling it.
True.
If they say, I'm going on a bank run, and they're in Wilbur and they get a speeding ticket, why are you in Wilbur when you were supposed to be in Davenport? So, it was just,
this just,
Another
the
leg
challenge
of
here though, just
accountability.
too, is it pigeonholes us to Davenport only. So what happens if the Davenport branch either, if it closes, then we're gonna do another resolution. Or if it's
Yeah.
closed temporarily for a week, for whatever reason, they shut down because of COVID, because of staffing, because of who knows, then you can't make this says we can't make a deposit anywhere else.
We want to change that now.
Could we just say any US bank branch
We can do that.
that's open?
Does that require
I
an
don't know, I
amendment,
see Jerry's point too. What's that?
a motion to amend?
Yes. Because my motion was just to accept it as, for discussion, but and I'm open to an amendment, so I'm not.
Do we want to amend it now?
Might as well.
Okay.
I would propose an amendment that reads, whereas the city of Harrington will deposit funds with any U.S. bank branch in Washington state.
That would also then apply to the line down here. It says authorization is given to the above persons to carry and deposit funds to U.S. Bank Davenport, so to say any U.S. bank.
So you have to eliminate Davenport.
Yep.
Yes.
Delete
Just put in
Davenport
US bank branches or any,
And
a US bank.
with a U.S. bank
So I'll
location.
second Peter's motion to amend.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor of the, let's see, how do we have to approve the amended motion? Signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Did you vote, Levi? I didn't hear you.
Yes, I did. I did, sorry.
Okay, thank you guys for input. Motion passes 5-0. Okay,
Yeah, it's all good.
resolution 227-2021. This is a specific resolution to allow us to so that we are clear that we do not have to deposit our funds daily due to the closure of the bank, and obviously that's already been in progress, or it's already been happening, but again, state auditor recommended this
Because
to
currently,
just have
there's-
something on the books to say, hey, it doesn't have to go in every day.
currently there is a requirement for such to deposit daily, isn't it? Is that an auditor thing? Or
That is an auditor thing.
Yeah.
They actually pointed me to the county, and then I talked to the county and said, well, you don't deposit your money with us, so we have nothing to do with it. I don't know.
It's a-
To answer your question, I don't know for sure that City of Harrington has something in writing that says it has to be deposited daily.
The school has the same requirement. I don't know that it's our requirement, it's like a state requirement,
Right.
as
Yeah.
a city or as a school district. And so the same thing happened in Sprague when their bank branch closed, so this is one of the things that they've come up with. So, I'll make a motion to do this with the proposed change that it doesn't say Davenport,
Right.
where it says authorization is given to deposit funds to any U.S. bank branch in Washington at least one day per week. It's 227.
Is 1 day a week sufficient?
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes he goes more often, but this allows us to, if we are able to, if the amount of money is okay where it only needs to go in once a week, then it's giving us the option to only go once a week.
Has there been a time that we didn't go in that week or need to go in a week?
I
'Cause
don't
this says
think
at
so.
least 1 day per week. So you don't think so?
I think it should be deposited weekly regardless of
Okay.
the amount of money.
Right, I was just looking at the language in here.
Well, it gives us the option, it doesn't mean
Right.
it doesn't,
Right.
it could be every day if,
But it says at least
Yeah,
one, so
right.
maybe like this week, nothing come in or, I don't know how much you guys take in on a daily basis.
I think
if
there's
it's
definitely
suffice
enough in
for-
any given week to
Okay.
warrant taking it.
Then I
It
would,
averages about 2,000 a day.
so, yeah, at least once a week, but not limited to that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve with the correction, deleting Davenport. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of approving resolution 227-221 with, or as corrected, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, guys. Okay, one more. This one's a little bit longer. Resolution 228-2021. This is our much needed and a little bit late credit card policy. Did you guys find anything in there that you have trouble with or don't understand or don't like?
I didn't look at it all in its entirety, but from inception, setting limits and stuff. How do you guys feel about what has it been if we had a card? I know we had what do we want to set the limits? I know we had some examples in there.
is this model language or is this model like template language?
Yeah, I mean, well, it was definitely derived from other documents.
So the only thing I would, so far under authorization on the second page, it says the city clerk / treasurer. So many cities, that's one position, but our city, it's 2 positions. So I would do the city clerk and or treasurer. I would
Put
separate,
a and or
because they're separate positions. It's not a single
Good
position.
catch.
for how long
Right, I don't, until somebody changes it, I guess, but right now we have an elected treasurer, so it's a.
Okay.
Yeah, or if we just wanna say it's the city clerk, I don't mind. The city clerk will be responsible, the responsible authority for designating card users and maintaining, or if we want it to be the city clerk and or mayor, but
The only reason I like having the treasurer in there particularly is just the maintaining each account with the banking entity, just because I feel like our treasurer does work with the bank and our online banking stuff.
this is just for authorization though, to authorize who gets the cards.
Right.
I'm indifferent to if it needs to be the treasurer, but I still believe it needs to be,
Not slash.
Or
same with on accidental use on page 3, it says the same thing, notification from the clerk/treasurer, so.
Well, I think what the template was is that the clerk is the treasurer, so that's why that's.
No, many
Yeah.
cities have it that way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but we don't, so there's,
I would designate singular, just one person would tidy it up more for authorization.
there's
see.
several areas though, so to what Nathan is questioning though, like responsibility and accountability, it's in there. Payment of bills, it says the clerk/treasurer will reconcile the monthly bills. So you might want to have that the clerk and the treasurer,
Yeah.
because that's to his point of,
Right.
and then it also, the bottom of that, the last sentence says, once approved, the clerk/treasurer will issue a payment to the banking entity. I don't think the treasurer does issue payments, but,
I think there's, at the fault of my own, I think there's enough edits to, I don't know that I want to go through every single one during the meeting, that I can, since we're meeting twice a month, to,
isn't this causing other problems though for you? By not having this right now? Isn't it like you're not being able to get a credit card from?
no, it's not necessarily causing problems, but it's just, it's one of those good, something good that we need to have on hand.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with making a motion to adopt this with proposed edits to clean up the language for the clerk/treasurer. I don't think that's from a policy standpoint, I'm not that worried, but you, like you said, that's my opinion. You
Slash
said,
treasurer altogether, and then,
well, but there's one area he said that, which the payment of the bill, or, the payment, under payment of bills, it says the clerk/treasurer will reconcile the monthly bills. Well, right now, both of those positions do that,
doesn't bias do all that?
but two separate,
Right.
that's our check and balance.
Positions.
That's our check and balance. And so I don't,
Right.
my only, it's not even an issue, my
Thought
is that
process.
it's not, this is model language,
Going forward.
but we have two separate positions.
Okay, well, we can,
Modify that.
yeah, we can modify that.
I'm looking for a reference to the clerk, page 1.
So, so a couple, actually, no, it's here. So
Second
on
page,
the Exhibit
Exhibit
A,
Yeah.
there's
Are you
probably
reading
about
it
a
through
half a
that?
dozen, but it says, like here under the authorization, the city
I got
clerk/treasurer will be the responsible authority for designating who can use the cards.
Yeah.
But our position is, I mean, that's Jerry and or Michael Cronrath. And then on this third page, it says the receipts, employees incurring expenses will provide these to the clerk/treasurer. And then
The time
safeguard of the
limit.
responsibility of the clerk
I'm
treasurer.
with you.
The one that Nathan is questioning, though, or he wants them both, is down here, the clerk/treasurer will reconcile monthly. Both of those positions do that currently. But I don't, so,
Well, I just have, add 2 cents to this. Going forward, are we gonna have a treasurer?
I don't see any reason we wouldn't. Unless,
Did anybody file?
no. Not at this point, not that I'm aware of. Nobody filed at the correct time. Unless
so
somebody,
the
there's a
council
special
can't
file.
appoint somebody.
Yeah,
But since it's an elected position, so to unwind it, you'll have to, there'll be some, I'd say, significant unwinding to do to change. I'm sure it's like in our,
Well, I just kinda wondered why, I was told by the people in Davenport that Harrington's the only one or one of the only ones that has a
Both.
treasurer has both. And I wonder what the pros and cons to it are. the check and balances is one, but then we spent all this money on this bias program. That's supposed to, that basically, in a nutshell, is the check and balance. I'm just trying to, go forward or see ahead of time here. What problems, are we gonna encounter come November, December, or January 1st?
Yeah, and I honestly don't have a good question for that. If things were changed, if that would make a significant impact? Jerry, what are your thoughts on what you've seen so far?
Bias is only good as the input.
Well, right now.
And if you have two people that are watching it, you make sure that input is accurate. If you want to get rid of the treasurer, then you're gonna have to give me a part-time assistant, because I won't have enough time in the day to do everything that two people do.
Well, as I understand, is the current treasurer bias savvy and running up with it? So
Yes.
that's, okay. Well, thank you for that input.
I
Okay.
mean, Odessa has two clerks, right? Or assistant clerk and a clerk.
Deputy clerk or something?
Yeah, Sprague has that as well. So obviously Odessa's twice our size, Sprague is similar. So I think that's probably why, and our treasurer position is elected, but the salary is about 300 and
320, I think.
Well, how much time does our treasurer, like, when you say have to hire somebody part-time, another person, how many hours does the treasurer spend going over this stuff roughly?
It depends on the time of the year. When he-
Payroll or?
When he's filing reports, he's got to go through
Yeah.
everything all over again.
the current treasurer has an advantage because his wife was the previous treasurer for multiple years.
Got a leg up.
And
Little
so
help.
was worked with her on that. When that treasurer resigned, former Mayor Paul Gillen stepped in to be the treasurer, and he spent countless hours because there was going back through and getting caught up.
Right.
Jerry, I think Michael has previously said maybe 15 or 20 hours a month. but
Yeah.
That's
It's
what.
usually 10 to 20 is what's logged.
So
Time card wise.
that's him who, any treasurer is gonna come in is gonna take more than that, regardless if they're the appointed / elected position or if they're an assistant to. But bias does make it, I will say, I know, we're talking to Michael too, bias has made it a lot easier than the old system that
That's right.
they created an Excel spreadsheet that they tried to run off of, and now they have this. So anybody new coming in hopefully won't be as.
So I think keep on track. Let's deal with this,
Okay.
and then I think this is overdue regardless, being that we've had a credit card for a little while, so we need to get something in place so that we have it, and then we can obviously.
To make it easy, I would say instead of clerk / treasurer, I just would say clerk and or treasurer. That way it can be either person,
Okay.
and then if things need to change later,
It'll
you
be
can
neat.
fix that or it can be amended,
Yep.
but at least we'll get this in place.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. to
I'll
approve.
second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 228-2021 with the city clerk and treasurer correction
Or,
or treasurer correction. Any more discussion on this resolution? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, guys. Lincoln County Sheriff's Office contract. I know that went out later than I'd hoped as far as going out with the rest of the packet. Did you guys have any questions or concerns on that contract? I think this one, if I remember right, and maybe Peter, Levi, any of you guys that were here either before me or while I was on the council, this is longer than the previous ones have been.
Has there been any changes, to the best of your knowledge?
With this one?
Any changes, I guess, proper.
As far as the language, I don't know that for sure, but I know
Dollar amount?
Yeah, dollar amount sure has changed.
up, I imagine, right? More?
Has, so the from 2021 price to 2022's $800.
Per month?
No, just change. So the
3% is there.
yeah, the current contract price is 28,138, and then starting in 2022, it'll be 28,981. 3% cost of living increase yearly.
And when do we pay them? Twice a year?
I think it's
Quarterly.
yeah, it's quarterly.
This is 5 years. I don't know.
Maybe it was 5 years before. I don't remember that
I
for
did it
sure.
with Dylan the last time I don't know, and that would have been.
So you never renewed a contract before I
I
was.
believe so.
Okay.
You would have been on here because you took my spot on the council.
That's correct.
So
This amount is annual payment, isn't it?
Correct.
And so that locks it in for the next 5 years? Is that?
with
Yes.
3% annual increases.
Yeah. So you
Every year you get 3%
Yes.
added.
yes.
A COLA or
As long as I did my math correct, which I'm not
Okay.
promising
With
anything.
inflation changing, that might end up being a bargain.
2026 year price would be 32,617.
in 2026, you said?
Correct.
Yeah, there we go. That's what.
So it's a compounding 3%.
Yes. So part of the reason this went up too, if you guys remember about 4 or 5 years, 6 years ago, we had a 0.3% sales tax increase in our county. And so that money was
Public safety.
for public safety, but it goes to the city, and the city's supposed to pay. So when this happened last time, the sheriff thought he was getting all the money.
Mm-hmm.
And our council didn't necessarily agree, so we held back some money because we wanted to have a, not a public works, but enforcement
Code
officer.
enforcement officer.
Yeah.
So we kept back a couple $1,000s of that money. So most of this money is passed through. When I came on the council, it was a flat fee that the former Mayor Gillen had really fought against having any increases. And these guys fought to increase it because
Yeah.
their costs are going up. And so former Mayor Dylan Haas had this same type of thing when we went to when that sales tax increase passed, and then it bumped it up from like maybe a $15,000 a year to 23 years. I don't know the exact. It was a big jump, but most of that funds was a pass through. Basically, the money that we got for that 0.3%, then we paid the county sheriff through this quarterly payment.
Yeah.
So there is some money that comes out of our pockets, but most of it, I mean, there's also a part of it that comes out of the sales tax.
Is everybody comfortable with the service we've been getting?
I think so. I think we just
Guess you have to define comfortable.
So Davenport pays like $350,000 a year.
Yeah.
Odessa has their own police department. Reardon has their own. Creston recently disbanded theirs. I think Wilbur Creston to go with the county. So it's a crapshoot because we looked at this before. Like Sprague might pay somewhere similar. We don't necessarily know exactly unless we look through. I guess if we file the public records request or we see it through the minutes in the paper for these other council meetings. But there's no set hours either. I mean, we don't. This doesn't say we get 40 hours of per month or anything. So the times that I've talked to both the undersheriff and the sheriff about our services, they've been open to those things. How much that's changed, I don't, how much does that really make a change? I don't know, but there's been a few times when I was on the council before with Mayor Dylan Haas, we went and talked to them and gave them our concerns, and so I learned a lot more then, obviously, when I did that. So they've been open, and usually they'll come in and talk to us, and so there's not a set number of hours. They just patrol when they're usually going through. No one
Yep.
lives here.
I know they're short-staffed, or have been. The other thing that I'd add too is just the cost of what it would take for us to have our own person. Reardon went through not a exactly the same, but similar. So they have their police officers there, but on top of that, they're still having to pay for their dispatch services, the jail services. So for us to look into something like that, I think it would be exponentially more than.
Like L&I for our public works is like 1%. For law enforcement, it's like 19%. That we have, I mean, so it's not, I would say it's not worth it to have our own. We've already,
No.
Harrington's had that before, and,
Yeah.
But
And for lack of other options too, I mean, I would definitely rather have them not go around Harrington, you know, if we didn't have a contract with them or however that would work. But so as far as you asking if we're comfortable with the service, I think we have to be comfortable at this point.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion by Justin and seconded by Steven to approve the new agreement for law enforcement services between the City of Harrington and Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Made one mistake. The Johnson family towing lease renewal. That needs to come. We're just gonna skip that. I don't have that document to give you guys yet. So I should have just taken that off the agenda, but I forgot. Mayor update. Pickup purchase. We have not paid for, but we have purchased a pickup. We're gonna try to get it hopefully tomorrow. I gotta talk to Mike and have him come down and sign the check. Found one in Post Falls. It's a 2011 Chevy pickup. It's got a canopy, like a utility canopy on it, with some shelves in it. But that was just kind of an update, so we can get another pickup in town, so we're not paying mileage reimbursement, and so that those guys can start getting some tools and their needed stuff into that pickup.
What did you end up finding?
2011 Chevy pickup,
Four-wheel
Mileage?
drive?
102.
Is it from like a agency, government agency, or private?
Nope, it's from a business, but a private business. Yep, just a private sale.
Service box on it, you said, or what?
It's a utility canopy, so like the doors
Oh,
on the
okay.
side open up, have some shelving in there on both sides, and then it's got the doors on the back.
What did we offer? What did we pay for it?
11,000. We haven't paid for it yet, but we're hoping soon.
And do we have 10 or 15 set aside? I forget.
15.
We had 15 originally, and I believe when we amended in February, we actually upped that.
So we got well under. Is the mileage a concern?
Diesel
to
or
me.
gas?
Gasoline. It's a 6-cylinder, so
Four-wheel,
it's
four-wheel drive?
this one is 2-wheel drive,
Four-wheel drive. Automatic, manual?
automatic. Yeah, it's a fleet vehicle. I mean, pretty standard pickup. I originally
AC?
planned on, yes, yep,
Okay.
AC. I originally planned on buying another pickup similar to Scott's, the one that the Ford that was driven last with a service box on it. Good luck getting one with decent mileage,
Do we,
and 4-wheel drive or anything like of that nature for the money that we had set aside
question, where is that truck right now? The
The-
old one,
in the city shop.
I don't know, possibility for another one is you buy just chassis and take that box and swap?
Sure, his box is a little bit rough, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's not dented necessarily. Paint's a little rough on that box, but yes,
But
that's,
didn't it, I believe, I don't know if it was Scotty mentioned or somebody had concern, a pipe rack or the rack above was handy.
yeah.
I don't know who it was that right offhand mentioned that. This one doesn't have that.
It does.
Oh,
It's
okay.
got this, so it's got a canopy on it with the doors that open up, and then it's also got an external ladder pipe
Okay,
rack.
okay.
It's got actually a really good clamping system for ladders. It's similar to a box, or maybe the same box that you would see on like an Avista truck.
Right, okay. What did you mention, what color? I guess
White.
White.
Boring color.
Did we look at other trucks? How'd we find this one?
Online, and yes, looked at hundreds of trucks,
Yeah,
pickups.
good.
You know, the timing played into this a little bit too. I mean, this is something I think somebody asked her at the beginning of the year and said, well, how long will it be? And I said, well, first couple months, hopefully. Well, it's not February, so, you know, that kind of pushed me a little bit, but I think I went, looked at it, drove it. I thought it was a good pickup for what we need. I call this the quote-unquote small pickup. You know, we still have to budget for our bigger tool truck with the maybe a service body on it and what other options we can find, but this would be the kind of the second to run around.
With that old one, currently old one that's in the shop, would it suffice as a bigger one if we found a chassis for it? Or we need one bigger or better than that?
I don't think we need necessarily bigger. This is just
Okay.
the tool drive small one that it'd be similar to what the two pickups were there before. So we had the service box Ford, and then at one time there was that standard cab short box, that little Chevy that's actually still at Harrington Truck and Auto. Just got it. It was a two-wheel drive short box, little tiny Chevy, and that's what
I remember that.
they had previous. So
And-
this is a newer edition of the
Okay.
smaller pickup.
Well, to start.
Yeah, we need something. The green one's not going to last forever. I mean, we've already had to make some repairs, and then with 2 employees, there's a lot of times I think they'll obviously can be in one pickup maybe for days at a time, but then there's definitely times I think, or I know that we'll need 2.
What's the green one?
The flatbed.
The 1 ton, it's got the dump box on it.
Haven't seen it.
Flatbed, it's a tonner. It's green.
It's a 70.
You've seen it.
It's the only one running around town right now.
Yeah, it's the only running pickup we own.
Vehicle.
It was purchased.
We have a backhoe. And we have a lawnmower, or
We have a lawnmower.
Not a
Bobcat.
lawnmower, but the
But-
street sweeper.
I just wanted to give you guys an update. We found one, so hopefully you will see that at the latest next week, but hopefully the next couple of days you'll see it running around. Light poles, following up on last meeting, I got online, looked at the manufacturer stuff for as far as weight. David, I know you mentioned that. Didn't see anything on there, so I've got to call into the manufacturer of that light pole. Really nothing else on there, but I just want to update and keep that on the burner in case we decide to, if we want to allow things. You know, Justin made some points of things that are currently hung on there, and I would frankly, I'd love to keep doing it, but just with the rate of the ones that we've had trouble with, and maybe we can mitigate that, checking the bolts once a year or something. But anyways, I have not heard back from the manufacturer, but I did not see anything on their manual that referred to weight, that for anything that could be hanging off of them. Wastewater treatment plant upgrade. You guys everybody got that document? Andy Tom wrote a 1-page summary for us, kind of summed everything up. I wanted to just make sure that was fresh in our minds. Hopefully, I don't know when in September, but sometime in September we will find out from CDBG whether we have received their grant or not, and hoping to be able to vote on this at some time, hopefully next month, depending on when we find out. But that was just something that Andy did for us and try to sum everything up and refresh our memory a little bit.
Nothing has changed in it from the last time we met with them, right?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
Just the funding and the scope and what the purpose was. And I'll tell you, I needed that 1-page summary as much as you guys did, so it helped.
Well, it keeps us fresh.
Yeah. So we'll look forward to September, and hopefully, one, we find out soon, and two, hopefully we find out that we received that additional grant funding. Street projects, I wanted to just quick update on the two that we have going. Douglas and First, so we got some asphalt put up there, some gravel. That was a TIB grant that was, Justin talked about that a little bit. I think we received that money 2018, but they will be chip sealing next. I talked to the county next 2 to 3 weeks, so you'll see that happen, and then try to finish everything up. We will have a little bit of leftover money from what the grant originally was to what the county, what the price will be for the county to complete the job. So I'm going to talk to TIB and see if we can do anything else. What can we do with extra money, if anything, or is that, there's a scope for the project there.
Apply it
So
to the Adams Street project.
Well,
Yeah,
my
maybe.
suggestion would be to pave that on the other side of the park.
yeah, and I will ask. I don't think it's going to go just because it's out of the the original scope and for the width, but that's
Yeah.
absolutely, it's not going to hurt to ask, especially if there's some additional funding there.
But I would ask if we can apply that towards that other project so that we don't have to withstand as much possibility of overages.
I will certainly ask. I feel like probably won't happen, but
The
that
what
doesn't
if
mean that I won't ask.
Overages,
Yeah.
if that happens.
What's the reason for the long delay in getting this project underway? If it was introduced and
18.
discussed in 2018, I was surprised when I saw the work being done.
I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the grant. I saw the money that was there last year, and last year it did not happen. The county couldn't get it into the schedule, so I kind of kept hammering away at my boss and said, "Can we get this done before we lose it?" And so that was the reason for it being done this year. And I don't know when the money was received. It could, if it was later in the year. I don't
I
know.
think it was late 2000, I think, because Dylan is the one that got that for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then he left in June or July. I think I remember sending documents in maybe October, November of 18, but then it was really at their, it was really Steve Marsh, the engineer, TIB, and then the county to work it out. So I think
Yep.
it was just a matter of them
Mm-hmm.
on their schedules and everything. So
Good thing is it's pretty close to being done. And us working with the county versus a private contractor saved a ton of money. So that's good news. We probably, I'm not saying that the quality is better or worse.
Saved
But
about
it's-
half, probably.
Yeah, we definitely got a lot more bang for the buck, being able to work with the county. Adam Street, contract was signed by J.R. Massey. We were going to sign it and send it off. I do not have a start date on it yet, but as soon as we have that, I will send that out either at the next meeting. We'll talk about it, or I'll send it via email. But everything looks in order for that project. That's all I have. Committee update.
How are things on the audit?
Frustrating, but it's. I think we're doing what we can. Long process, and I mean, essentially, I've definitely been part of the city for the 2 years that are being audited, but not necessarily know all the answers. So Jerry and I are having to do quite a bit of digging and research.
Doing 19 and 20.
Yes.
2019 and 20.
A lot of personnel change. Some other, just some other factors that go in there. Just maybe making it a little bit more difficult than it normally would be. But we're getting questions answered, and trying to get it done as fast as possible. But that's kind of at the mercy of the auditor's office. Brittany Benning has been working directly with us. She's been here on Fridays, and I think will continue to do so. I don't know, probably through most of the audit, do anything that she can at her office, and then come down here on Fridays. That's when I'm here to try to hash out anything else.
What happened during the entrance meeting on the audit? Can you summarize?
Yep. So we just went over the kind of how things were going to work. They just gave us a summary of what they were doing, how it was going to work. It was with Brittany Benning and then her supervisor, which is Weston Fink, at the auditor's office, and myself and Jerry, and it was a pretty quick meeting. I think probably less than 15 minutes. And they just explained that entrance document to us and the process that
Mhm.
how things would go. The one important part that I do remember was the price. We budgeted $14,000. Of course, that's an estimate, but it's almost certainly going to be closer to 16 or 17,000.
What do they attribute that to? It's just more
Time.
time than they figured?
So that's not good news, but both Jerry and I kind of expressed our not liking of having to pay for it, being forced to do it, paying for it, and then not having really no other means to help pay for it. I mean, it's like a lot of things, but
But going forward, another 5 years or whatever, how much will that bias program aid us in efficiency or reduce cost in an audit? Or will it?
hopefully leaps and bounds. The more that gets put into bias and make sure everything's correct, and I think it'll help tremendously.
Okay.
I don't know necessarily that there's a direct relation between the time and the money. Obviously, the less time they do have to spend, there will be a little bit less, but I don't know that it'll go down drastically. I think there's still there's a lot of stuff that they have to do regardless. We
Okay.
provide them with that information, and so it takes them maybe less time to glean that, but
So
there's still a lot of processes.
Weston was the auditor last time,
Mhm.
who's now the director, or who's the manager. So we were supposed to have back-to-back audits because of our situation, but because we wanted to buy bias, they made us a deal and said we won't come back next year, and you can use that money to buy bias. It's not exactly the same dollar amount, but it was a trade-off, because they wanted us. So the other point of that is we have to have a bias or something like bias,
Right,
because we used to do it by hand, and they don't accept that anymore.
correct.
So to generate your annual reports, everything that you have to do as a city, bias was built specifically for Washington State, but there are other companies, but that's what you have to do that. So we spent before with the annual reports, like when I did it with Bunny, Bunny would spend several months on it and then have to type it all up by hand. Bias it actually, it's already there, and you just push a button and it spits it out and how it's supposed to be. But then also submitting the information to them, to the state.
Yeah.
You have to, they don't accept it,
Hard copies
Paper
anymore.
form.
or fax machine or anything. So whether it's bias, and there's maybe two or three others, something similar, it has to be to their specifications, because it has to talk to their systems. And so, yeah, I mean, so
It's gonna make a little difference.
and
And we're going through part of the audit right now that's actually the software conversion. So that's part of our audit right now. So that's going to help us make sure that the software does things certain ways, but also to make sure that things are exactly how they want. So it will hopefully speed that process up a little bit more.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Committee updates. Levi, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, first one on there is the Mack fire truck.
Okay, Jess and I got all the information pulled off of it and put onto a sheet for fire truck mall I sent off the information to them the other day. I haven't heard back from them yet, so I'm going to give them another, or send them another email tomorrow and see what they say. And if I recall, you put it on Craigslist and several other places, Nathan?
I did. I actually talked to somebody on my way home from work today that's going to come look at it Sunday.
Awesome.
And then another person from Kentucky, and they offered $5,000 right off the bat, and then I said, well, I don't know if that's going to do it. I'd have to go through council, and then they're going to try to come up with $7,000. So that's still a decision that we'll have to make, whether we want to accept that when that time comes. But I do have 2 interested parties.
Okay.
How many
Awesome.
days has it been on Craigslist, did you say?
Month maybe?
This
I don't
week?
know.
14 to 20 probably. I don't remember exactly the day.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Refresh my memory, how much did the city, how did we get that? How much, did we have to spend money to buy that years ago?
Originally,
Yeah,
yes.
and I can't remember if we had a figure on that or not.
The only place I really remember seeing that price was a newspaper article
Hmm.
when they purchased it.
Was it like 3,000 or 30?
I don't remember for sure, but yes.
Got it from Scott's dad.
Right, yeah.
It was a surplus truck from
Yep.
one of the district he
So
worked at.
if we could unload it for 5+, it's,
Yeah. I mean, we.
Also,
Go ahead, Levi.
because of the contract that we signed with Fire Truck Mall, we've got to remember, if we sell it, that we have to find out where they heard about the truck, and then let the company that we are advertising with know that we sold it when we do.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're going to want their 10% cut.
Yeah, if we don't use them to sell it, we just need to tell them where we sold it.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, and make sure that we find out where the person that we're selling it to heard about it from.
Okay. I will do that. I know the one I talked to today was Craigslist ad, and the other interested party was used fire and EMS
Okay.
site. I don't remember the specific name of it. I'll have to get it. But I'll keep that in mind.
and neither one of those require a fee for doing
Nope.
it. Yeah, a percentage.
Nope, this is just it's all fire and EMS related. You can sell anything on there. It's a virtual yard sale for fire and EMS supplies. So
Awesome.
okay. Fines and fees schedule. Have we made any progress there? Or where are we at? What do we need to do? Yeah, any updates there?
You addressing to me
Um,
or either
either
David or me?
yeah, either person.
David's done the work on it.
Not this time, probably by next meeting, we should have some. And from what I understand, that the fines, fees, and schedule and stuff, that is gonna be determined from the courts when they do that.
We
District
work
court,
through
yeah.
district court. Okay, so that's not something that we will end up setting then. Would they?
Right.
They will. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know. I did
From
not
my
know that.
understanding is that's how it's gonna be, and we'll have to look at it when it's all typed up. I'll get together with Jerry. And my only concern now, a little bit before the meeting started, I rifled through some ordinances and was the zoning issues, and it doesn't seem to be that's not going to be a problem for anything, what they allow and what they don't allow, and so I think everything's a go on that.
Okay.
And I don't know how you feel about. Some months ago, probably back in April, May-ish, our city attorney looked at it, but didn't seem to be much help in the direction. He just said good luck with it. But then Wilbur has been really helpful, and Andy Mankey of Chief of Police in Reardon and Renee Honey have also, been very helpful with this, so.
Is this something we think we can get I'd hope to get a draft typed up by next meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna work my best with harvest being behind us and a little bit of time here to sit down here and go through some more archives of what we have. I don't think there would be any problem with presenting something.
Okay.
So everybody could
Question.
see it. Go ahead.
You suggested that the courts have the authority to set the fees?
They're gonna set the fines. They have, and these fines, they're published in MSRCs, they're other cities comparable to Harrington, and so forth and so on. But when we get to that point, if somebody's not complying, and if you write an infraction, it gets turned over to the district court, and it's in their hands. But the problem, I'm just say right now, the issue I have is that we're gonna have to decide, before you even get to writing fines, if somebody's out of compliance, they need to meet with the council, or we need to address it personally
Have a
with them first.
Hearing.
And then the clock starts ticking from that time. Whether they remedy it themselves, or they come up with an agreement. Yeah, I need a month or 3 months to get rid of this. It's in the process. I'll do it. The fines come in place after the fact. If they are scofflaw, it'll just say heck with it and throw it away. I'm not going to do it and all that. Then code enforcement can write them a infraction, civil infraction, non-criminal, it's civil infraction, and that gets turned over to the district court, and then they have to appear in court for that.
Shouldn't it be the municipality that sets the fines, though? Well, I don't understand what authority the court has to do that.
I think some of that probably, I would guess, and I don't know this for sure, that would have to do with like some of their processing fees, some of their
Right.
costs that they would incur dealing with this. We can't set it for $3 if it costs them 20 to deal with it. Maybe that's
Well, the
Portion of
RCW, what I never not explained this right. There's a fine schedule, RCW's states, and I've said I can't remember where I've seen it before in our own network here, but it's not out of line. Like they could charge a guy $25. Up to $250. Usually a first offense, or they could waive it and throw it out and say, get it done. But it's the people that don't comply, then it goes up to $250. This is kind of like, I don't know, any other kind of ticket or whatever. If you say, heck with it, and don't pay, and then they're going to come after you. But that is something, you have a valid point there, Peter, that I have to look into more. Do we want to set the schedule? But if we turn it over to the courts, it's in their hands. And really, that, in my opinion, is a good thing, because when we get to that point, the city, in my opinion, has already done everything to be Mr. Nice Guy and extend the olive branch out to the people. This is a last resort thing. And I think most people will comply, because who wants to go sit over there in the court and the judge, whether he throws it out or not, it's just an inconvenience. But it's more of a polite threat. You get this. My hope is that they'll comply. They'll come meet with us at a council meeting or whatever, and explain why it's out of compliance. We have ordinances, and for whatever reason, ISOR, it's explained back in 2008, all the list of reasons and stuff, and they'll be able to see that, and if they need more time or circumstances to mitigate their case, and we accept whether to do it or not. And if they say, yeah, I can get that out of here, I'm working on it, fine, we'll give you 30 days, 6 months, whatever's reasonable. We're not just going to go tag them, pistol whip them or something, hey, give them a ticket, and and all like that. This is meaning business. We'll work with them, is my hope as a council in the city.
Yeah.
We're not just going to be out there collecting revenue or try to and tick them off. but it's more, it's
Something for
something
down the
I've been
road.
hearing from the code enforcement officer, something with teeth.
Yep.
Because I'm gathering that past and present enforcement officers weren't taken serious. They looked at Harrington as somewhat, it's only Harrington, who cares? Well, the people, the residents, if we don't want an ordinance, then just scratch all of them, what the heck, free for all. But that's
And
not the way we
the
live.
salary that code enforcement plays in there too. I mean, we have this person to do this for us. Again, if there's no way to then enforce that on the others at the end,
Right.
what you're saying to the ordinance is there's no reason to have a code enforcement officer.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. So, being that we have, I mean, this is really nothing new as far as the ordinance goes. It's just that I can't remember in 2008 if our town, Steve Frank was here or not, or whatever his name was. We didn't have Barney Fife or anybody.
No.
We
Steve
didn't have a town
Frank was gone.
constable. So, we're at that disadvantage, I mean, a little bit, but this should do it.
Well, I think too, just, I mean, to Peter's concern, I think once you have those RCWs for us, I mean, we can probably get a better idea than with that documentation, so, I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be helpful to me to have
Well,
that.
see the
and
exact
what-
process,
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
I believe I've emailed it, it's been the last 6 months, several things to everybody. And if you didn't get it, I apologize. But, and I can't remember everything I say myself. But I like to cover, cross all the Ts and dot all the Is because it's just a step up. I talked with Chief Mankey and Reardon, and this is at Renee Honey, the district court clerk, said, talk to him. He has I guess, to redact here is Dylan, the last mayor, Dylan Haas. He was in the process of doing it, but they've done some changing and getting a ticket book. That was the biggie. He said, talk to him. He's more handles this type of stuff. He'll be able to set you the right direction. Well, lo and behold, I called him and he said, yeah, I just got a case of them and I'll bring some down to you. But when we start doing that, he'd like to sit down possibly with Jay and or whomever's the code enforcement officer and tell him how to fill it out
Sure.
exactly. And you turn to the court.
And just the exact process. I mean, that's something we're going to want to know as a city and a code enforcement exactly how to go every
Yeah.
step.
And the biggie was is a form that the courts will recognize, and that's come out of Renee Honey. Now, whether I don't know what's going to happen once we turn in our first deal. Whether
Sure.
it gets that far, I'm kind of probably won't ever get that far,
Sure.
honestly.
Okay.
But that's all I have right now.
Okay, well,
And
thank you for the continued work on that, dude. I know you've put good amount of time into that. And talking to people, that's something that I think we all forget, or at least I do, is to network with other people that are close to us, talking to Andy and the courts and everybody else. So,
You're welcome.
okay. Snowbird utility options. That was just an update if there's been...
No, I have failed to get together with Peter and David before harvest came. I didn't want to ask for your time while you were in the middle of harvest for that. But those are the two that have expressed interest. I know where I sit for an opinion, but the three of us need to get together, I think, and have a little bit of discussion before we bring that to the general council.
It can only be two of you, because that three of five makes a public meeting. So,
So I guess then we should put that as maybe a workshop
Yeah.
for half hour before our next meeting.
Sure.
Will that suffice?
well, fine with me, I'm just saying if it's.
No,
You're right.
No,
You're
yeah,
right.
it has to, but there's, if three of you get together,
You're correct.
it's
Yeah.
a public, it's a major, or a
Quorum.
quorum, so
Mhm.
it can't be, you have to have, so it's, before, it's always been two and the mayor.
But as long as you don't take action, you can still meet, or it still has to be a public meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
You guys could have a public meeting here, the three of you, and publish it, and then have, if people want, but otherwise you two could, if it was two of you, you could meet whenever you wanted and then bring it back, but otherwise, if it's gonna be three, you have to publish it and have it as a public meeting.
That's fair.
Okay, so we can work, you and I can work through
Or public meeting, I mean, a public workshop is,
Sure.
I don't care.
to
I'm just-
go how we want to go about
I
it.
think a workshop would be fine.
Okay.
Do we want to set a date right now, or do we want to?
If we're fine, if everyone's fine doing a half hour before our next regular meeting is 6:30, I would be fine with that.
Are
Does that work for you guys?
Is Jerry a fast typer? Or not even?
If it's a, do we have to record and have
Nope.
minutes for
No.
a workshop?
Nope.
Yeah, so, okay, that works, that's fine with me.
And there's no action or anything, it's just
Yeah.
a,
It's an official
Yep.
talking session. Okay. 6:30, and that is, what's the date?
Oh, golly, yeah.
Uh,
guess.
8th.
September 8th.
September 8th.
Is it?
Okay.
And if somebody can't be here, then it's okay too. A council member, I mean, it doesn't have to have a
Right.
quorum, it doesn't have to, it's just a workshop and who can be there is here.
Handbook, I was hoping to have that document out to you guys, revised handbook, but I have not received it yet, so we're gonna have to wait on that, and that's where it's at the attorneys and being all spiffied up hopefully and sent to us so that we can look at it, but I have not received that full document yet, so.
Did you receive a response on the replies that we gave out of that email thread we were going back and forth?
Yes, so I definitely got your guys'
Okay.
Well,
your
no,
guys' replies
yeah,
and
but-
coupled it with mine and sent it to him. I haven't got anything back from
Okay.
Kelly from that. I think I kind of summed it up with our responses, and I think he's probably just going directly and working on that handbook, being
Okay.
with what we said. Okay, we had an addition. David, you said delinquent utility bills. Is that stemmed from the email that I sent?
Correct. That would be correct.
Questions, comments, concerns? You guys, everybody got the draft letter that I sent out, proposed to send to our delinquent account?
Water accounts.
Yes. Yeah, our utility accounts.
I would have some suggested edits for you, but
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to get to Jerry so I can try to, I'll be gone the next 2 days, but, the content of it and the intent was, I had no problem with it.
Okay.
My only question is this something that just was brought on by COVID? Or is this something, a perpetual thing that, that has been happening, or you foresee they're using it as an excuse to COVID? Or is this gonna be an ongoing battle?
Yes.
Yes to all of it, right?
I think it's not just because of COVID. I think maybe that's made it worse. I don't know that for sure, but I think it's always been a problem. As far as the number of accounts that are delinquent, from time to time, maybe from 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and now I don't know that. But
You don't know how many currently, we're talking like a dozen, 2 or
I
3?
don't know. I don't know the number of accounts. I know some of those counts are a good sum of money.
Okay.
So we used to, if it got over a certain amount, we would shut the water off.
How'd that go, work?
Some,
Did it-
Scott would go out there and put a lock on it, and then they couldn't get it back on until they paid in full, or sometimes there was a payment plan worked out for some deals. To your answer with COVID, people can just say the word COVID and it falls into that category. You can't do anything about it, whether you believe them or not, if it's true or not. If they say it's because of COVID, they get the free.
So they're immune from it?
They are.
Yeah.
So it's so we can't question that and hold like try to make them vouch for it, or you don't get that opportunity. It's just it is or it isn't.
That was the
So-
theory behind the letters, because we can't turn off water, we can't charge late fees, we can't put liens on property because of the rules that are in place. This was a brisk reminder of
Right. So going forward, my question is, it's been over a year now, so they're racking up, not paying it, they just living fat and happy on this and going, not paying anything, and then all of a sudden it gets lifted. Do they owe back, or is it just start a new slate? That was just all free to them?
no, they still owe that money.
That was
The balance will not go away.
Okay.
However, when those restrictions are lifted, then we have some teeth at that point. We
Right.
then have options to
Well,
some
that,
roads to go down to collect that money.
I had read someplace, and I apologize where it was. I think it was just tonight, something about, well, it was actually, I think it was Jerry's email to me, the clerk's email, something about MSRC, there was supposed to be a COVID plan, payment plan for people like this. Do we have one of those?
Not
Does
that
it
I'm
take
aware
council,
of.
or, I mean, okay, you can't afford this, but afterward, $10 a month, I don't know, would it work for your former?
No, I would say too, I would suggest going forward with, once the COVID, or the moratorium, I think right now, it's,
Yeah.
the federal one is through October 31st right now. But to have a policy, because before, there wasn't really a written policy.
I was just gonna ask that question. If
As
anyone knew
far as
of-
I was what I was led to believe when I was the mayor, it was a case by case basis, and really it was, at the time, it was the clerk who, maybe previously to myself, it was maybe Mayor Gilland or somebody that worked with the clerk on that, but there wasn't, as far as I know, there's not a written policy, but I think there needs to be a written policy.
Absolutely.
Because it's important, because again, if your bill is, whatever that amount is, if it's $50 late, it is $50 late, what's that mean? And if your bill is, $100 late, does that mean the same thing? And why does Stephen get a pass and you don't? And so.
Take any of the gray area out of it.
That's right.
Set.
So you've had experience with this as mayor, that if
I
somebody
knew about it.
they've cut it off, and then what happened?
We used to send out yellow slips. The
Door
Public Works
hangers.
used to go hang them out on those when they were a certain amount over, and it would say here, they give them notice and say, here's what you owe, here's the current, here's the back.
to turn it on, that you owe us this much.
The official policy was you had to pay it in full to get it turned back on,
But if you're-
but then that was the official
right.
verbal policy that I knew about. But then it was like, well, I don't have all that, but I can give you. We had a citizen come in here earlier this year, right, or late last year,
Yeah.
that said, hey, I owe a lot of money on my back. I want to move back here and clean it up, and he wanted to make a payment plan. And I think the council said, as far as I know, I don't know whatever happened to it, but so that's kind of what it's been like. And so previously, it never had come to the council. It always kind of was dealt with the front office,
Yeah.
essentially. So, but
I would just like to see something to Justin's, what he's saying is just something cut and dry, put in place.
Do we have any templates from other cities or whatever that would
I haven't
suffice
really
for us?
researched it
we
too
could
much.
get 'em.
Yeah, we could definitely find something. Even just calling around to our other Lincoln County cities, towns.
What they do?
MRSC's probably got it.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so is that something for the next meeting that we can get on that then?
Sure.
'Cause-
We just-
You said federal. I thought that, didn't I hear sometime this summer that was it a state moratorium that was lifted?
So
Yeah,
there's,
supposed to
so
be.
some cities are doing it, some counties are doing it, some states are doing it, and then there's the federal. So I just know this from work today, but San Diego's, for instance, their city moratorium expires on October 1st, while the federal is October 31st.
So which one do you have to go by in a
We-
situation like that?
Longer.
The longer one, the more.
Okay.
And I would think federal is more.
You're talking about
Right.
embargoes on the imposition of late fees?
Moratorium on any kind of eviction or, turnoffs
Yeah.
or late fees.
It goes for renters, landlord, tenant, I believe as well.
Mortgages, everything, so.
Yeah.
Telephone bills?
I don't know if they
Yeah,
fall under
utility.
utility or not, but, I don't know technically, but.
Careful, Peter. I don't. He got this smile on his face when he said that question.
This could work out just right.
Okay.
You
Well,
have this thing for
But
telephone.
my question was, if people that do that, it's not just free, that it's wiped out and forgot about, erased.
no.
So-
And I don't think we should do that.
And there's resources right now. I mean, the county has money, and there's agencies in our county that will provide, they've got ARC money. They got that money. They can apply that back to,
You're right, and wasn't that some of that first round as far as, they had to apply, what the heck
this is just
was it?
stuff
It was-
that I think like rural resources is one of them that
When
has.
Janice took over for Margie Hall?
EDC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was some stuff there was supposed to be a allotment of time there that they could apply to help people do that.
Correct.
And do we have the information, I guess that was the other part of your email, to people can pay, you send them this information to go, hey,
Yeah, I know
We
we
want
have it.
some.
I've seen it.
Maybe do that with your letter, send it out and say,
Sure.
there's resources available in our county.
here's the number.
Yep.
And
Okay.
if we haven't been doing it, I would recommend we start.
No, I know there was something hanging on the front of the building for quite a while.
Right.
So maybe that time it's
Yeah.
done with, and that I don't know the reason it got pulled down, but we did have it hanging for a while. But that's a good idea. I can send that with them. I just wanted to
Only
kind of get your
2% of
thoughts
that,
on
only
this.
2% of that money has been allocated. That got earmarked on
So
a
there's
federal level.
there's still plenty of money there.
Yes.
I think some of the difficulty will be with that is why a person is incentivized to clean it up at all, and if they're allowed to double dip. Like if a person gets help with their bill now and they keep running it up again or something, can they go back? And
Oh.
so
Yeah.
some of them might believe that it is best to leave it until the eviction stops and then try and get at it,
I
Maybe.
think
because
there was
there's no
something else.
consequences in the meantime.
I think there was something that addressed, well, this has been 7 months ago or whenever the first, there was something to that effect, Stephen. But that is a very valid point.
No, that's good. Jerry and I had talked about it a little bit, and I'd seen a couple numbers and a couple accounts, and so I thought it maybe was just a
The shut-off
Friendly
notice
reminder.
before was the teeth to that. And so since that's been taken away, there is zero.
Okay, so the next question to that, I know other cities, in reading through their stuff, there's a shut-off, a turn-off fee and a turn-on fee. When that happened, what you were referring to, was there a fee involved with turning it on and off as well?
It
It actually was updated. I read it somewhere maybe in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
was like $25 or $15. It was
Different weekend, obviously. If you
and it was for the time for our worker to go out
Right,
there and do
right.
it, actually
Oh.
do the work to pay for those services. So it wasn't exorbitant and it wasn't penalizing. It was to pay for their.
it wasn't just a made-up number, it was
Correct.
actually,
Mhm.
yeah. And
Applicable.
weren't we gonna revisit that schedule here a couple meetings ago? Did you send out an email or something about hookup fees or
Very
something?
That was
Well,
for
It had been discussed.
yeah.
Yeah,
I want
so,
to revisit all of anything associated to fees.
but I think it
Oh,
had,
I'm
had
here.
something to do with, actually digging a line, what we charge back and all that, so.
Oh,
you
that
turn-
was for the
Turning off your water.
physical
yeah.
disconnect.
But I think,
And
I
that
think-
gets associated with the snowbird stuff as well.
yeah, so I think that'll be
Okay.
addressed in the next meeting with Stephen and,
Okay, we'll put a
Myself.
point on there to talk about that stuff as well. Yes, that's something I really would like to get hammered out.
If you cover the main topic, though, David, can I? Do you feel like you're satisfied on the main topic there of that?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a related concern. So there was some bills that didn't end up getting delivered with that. Do we know? First of all, did we end up getting any type of a recuperation of the stamps that just went into the ether or anything? Like, do we know how many were lost, and are we paying for however many were lost?
Yes, no, we don't know how many, and we are not getting reimbursed. I mean, that I know of, and we don't have an exact number. There was just more than maybe just a couple that slipped through the cracks. There was a substantial amount of people that said, "Hey, I didn't get my bill. I want to pay it."
Do we have any idea how it even happened?
I do not. Jerry, I watched Jerry do the bills that day, and
Becca was on vacation that week that they went out, and she doesn't even know what happened.
Okay.
You're talking
She
US
knows they're
Postal
not
Service.
here, so her assumption is they're in Airway Heights at the distribution center.
Hey, Geiger,
Good to
Yeah.
know that they'll probably arrive 2 months from now.
yeah, so they'll get them, just maybe a little bit later than normal.
So have we done anything? Do we know which ones didn't go out?
No way of telling which one. No, it's just by phone calls or walk-ins.
I had somebody call me today about something else, and he's like, "Yeah, my city bill," and I was like, "Oh, He's like, I lost it. And I said, I don't think you did, because I was like, we just called yesterday and we thought we lost ours, and they told us. And he's like, oh. He's like, well, that's good to know. But then it was like, well, how many of those people do exist? And then are they not
Coming forward.
paying a bill this year? I mean, they don't know. Like some people, if they don't get a bill, they don't pay it.
Yeah, but I mean, we all know that it's a reoccurring monthly bill. I mean, I get not getting it, not maybe the due date, you know, something like that. But if you don't have record of payment or never got a bill, I personally, my opinion would be that that's on them to at least come in and check, just to make sure that there's not. I don't know. They should know that they still have to pay that bill.
Maybe they, at the last council meeting, we decided to give people a free pass this
I
summer.
bet you there'd be a lot more people.
It was, what, Citizen of the Month?
Yeah,
But and then one thing that a citizen had asked me about today with that is, what would our options be for communicating to, like, would another mailing be our only option to, like, notify people that this has gone on? Is that the only thing that we would be able to
say
do?
it happened again, or just in general.
Well, even to just say, hey, this has happened, we know about it, call the city. The only real communication method we have to do something like that is another mailing, correct?
Or the website.
or the chamber website,
We
Or
don't
post
have
on-
email addresses, basically.
or on the door here, you know, where we advertise for meetings.
Okay.
But yes, there's not a easy mass text message or email option,
Right.
I guess.
Are we flagging those
Well-
accounts? Excuse me, go ahead, Stephen.
I guess what I would suggest then is it might be helpful to put something in the window, and then if, with your guys' permission, I can send an email to Karen Robertson to put a thing on Facebook. I don't know if it crosses the line of something that's worth the effort and the money to try and do another mailing, especially if mailing is not reliable right now. That could compound our issues, but at least some of the limited efforts that we have to proactively communicate to people that that's a thing. I know there will be a lot of people missed by that, but at least it'd be something down that road.
I personally don't have any problem with website or Facebook or whatever we need to do to try to get it
How did
to
we
reach
figure
other
out that
people.
half of them got lost, or a portion of
Walk-ins
them?
and phone calls. We had no idea. We didn't know this. I got asked same thing, and then I noticed when I was in here last week, and Jerry's like, "Man, what happened to all these people's bills? Like, this is more than 3 people. It didn't just fall on the ground type of deal."
Maybe they wised up with COVID.
Maybe.
They'll
But so
show up in November.
Well, yeah,
But-
or
that's the only reason
You're-
that we found out.
2085.
There's a substantial amount of those people, not just a handful. And so Jerry said there's something happened.
Question.
Sure.
The unpaid accounts go into delinquency tomorrow, don't they? Isn't it the 25th?
There is no delinquency right now. I mean, there
I
could
mean-
be a past due amount, I guess, but there's no
The bill
monetary
says
charge.
it's due by the 25th.
Correct.
Of the month. Are we flagging those accounts that haven't been paid? We could send postcards.
Gotcha. I understand. Yeah, we could do that. Maybe get a list of the ones that all the accounts that have not been paid, and try to communicate with those people.
Or just a phone call.
Sure. I don't think that would definitely not include all the people that were missed, because a lot of those people made contact and then paid the bill. However, if there's still people that didn't know, that could be done.
I know this may not help at this situation, but refresh my mind about the bills that do go out. What kind of information do we have on it? Do we, or have we? I know we have, but any communication as far as upcoming events, as far as special meetings or council meetings and stuff like that?
Like what's-
Announcements, I guess, is a better term.
The
Do we put
ability, or
that, do we put that on the bills or the invoice we send out?
definitely try to.
I
Anything
mean, 'cause
pertinent.
we've talked about it in the past, you know, one way of reaching out instead of, and I know everybody doesn't come down to City Hall.
Yeah. I actually don't even remember what was on.
I like Peter's idea, though, of trying to identify all the people that have not paid as of after tomorrow, and then call them and say, hey, we had a problem with our mailings, were you one of those people?
Sure.
Because for us, the city, it's ultimately it's the city's fault. that it didn't happen. Even though it's the post office's fault,
Yeah.
it's the city's fault that it didn't happen.
The only problem with calling them is I don't have phone numbers.
Yeah,
I can stand outside and yell.
You don't have any phone numbers for any of our customers?
Very few of them.
We'll just have to find some other means of contacting people.
I thought we used to have phone numbers for.
maybe that's something to look for in the future on a service, that's on a file someplace.
Yeah, we're gonna ask for it.
I think you just used to pick up the phone and ask the
Okay.
operator.
Yeah. Or
Um,
you had that phone book, you know?
But Peter, to your point, there's no delinquency fee or anything, right? Usually it's like a $5 fee if you're late, but that doesn't happen with COVID anyway, so you can't tack on any of those fees, so. I mean, I think some people though are gonna get a bill next month, it's gonna be doubled up, that,
Then we'll hear from them.
right. And so I think by trying to be proactive, and if we can't get we don't have a number for them, no one knows, so be it, but to just.
make an attempt.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
I think.
I can just put a note on their next bill that says your bill is increased because you didn't receive a bill last month.
Or you didn't pay
So
last month.
this is for 2 months, not one. I can do that.
Yeah, or the reason why explanation.
That's pretty obvious when there's a prior balance.
But to send out a whole nother letter several days just before the bills go out, it's just piling more work on me. And quite honestly, there aren't enough hours in the day.
So we don't know how many this affect, right?
That's the big.
Well, we should know now how many people have not paid.
We will.
I've always got a list of those.
But I mean, but after tomorrow, and maybe there's a 10 or 12 that you know that don't pay, but
Go ahead.
Well, if you send it out again and it happens
I just
again,
think it's the
you know,
city, I think the city should make an effort, whatever that effort is,
Right.
to try to do something. If it's a phone call, if it's posting a sign on the window,
Door to
we can
door.
do that, but some people, we have a lot of people with fixed and limited incomes here, and so they're double bill, they don't budget for that, and if they're, I mean, we think we should be responsible, and you should know that your bill is due. Some people, unless they see it in front of them, they don't,
Right.
I mean,
I'll get a list from Jerry and I'll take that task on so that doesn't pile more on. I don't have a problem with that. Everybody that I can get a hold of or get phone numbers from, or I'll get that list.
You could put a blurb in the weekly advertiser, that gets delivered to everybody.
It's true.
Yeah, but by the time you do that, your new bill's out.
it's gonna be,
Does that look good?
Yeah. Oh, I get,
Okay.
and let me,
Whoop,
Nathan,
sorry.
I'll be glad to help you too, if you
Sure.
have a list of people, I can, if there's 15 names, I'll take 5 or 10, I mean, I don't really care, but I just think that we can try to identify those people. and-
okay.
I just sent an email to Karen Robertson, so I think she'll probably post it on Facebook.
Perfect.
If you wanna send it to me, I'll post it on the food bank site, Facebook site.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I'd watch, maybe if you could just watch the Harrington WA page. When she posts that, you can just share it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Public comment. I know we have one. Sherry, do you want to go ahead?
Fall Festival is coming up, and as requested, I am talking to the council about what the current plans are as far as the Chamber of Commerce side. We only organize the vendors for Fall Festival. Everything else is Lions Club. So I'm working with Lions Club to find a spot for the vendors, and originally we were thinking Douglas Street between First and Quill Creek, but that space is likely needed for parking for the alumnus and the attendees who want to go get some food from the bus barn from the Lions Club. So, I spoke with Alan Tankey, and he asked me to hold off placing him anywhere until after Lions Club meets on the 1st, because they're going to decide if it's even going to happen. The COVID upsurge is their concern. So, at this point, you know, I'm interested in the park, but that may not be available because the Lions Club wants to put picnic tables and places for the alumnus to eat in the park.
How many vendors are again?
At this point, I have 18 interested.
What have we had in the past? Do you know?
I've done up to 30. I'm not gonna push for 30. I'm gonna try to keep it around 20. Because it's just, I'm listening to the vendors. Normally I would have like 40 requests by now.
Typically,
And I'm not getting them, so I'm just not gonna push too hard on it.
typically, each vendor, how many square feet do they take?
10 by 10.
10 by 10s.
Okay.
Also, just to quickly note, the parade is done by the fire district. So
Oh,
Yep.
okay, thank you. I'm in communication with the Opera House, so that's taken care of too. Not that they're not impacted this time, but I promised I would communicate with them about any events that I work vendors for, so
Okay.
I'm doing that.
Thanks for the update, and I guess we'll find out if we have a fall festival for sure. We
And-
voted as Lions already to do it, but maybe things could change, so,
What's the scheduled date of it? I've forgotten.
25th of September.
yeah. Fourth Saturday.
month from today.
Yeah, a month from today. Should we come up with a plan that requires a street closure of a residential street, I will certainly talk with Nathan and take his direction on how to handle it.
And I will talk to Jerry.
Didn't we have vendors in the park in years past?
We have,
Mhm.
yeah,
You said you had 30?
Yeah.
Was it you that, about 30
that's
of them?
me.
In my experience with it, no matter where you put the vendors, someone has an issue with it.
All right.
Just there's no safe spot.
Okay,
There's gonna be,
Thank you.
the tables for the alumnus to eat are going to be in the park.
Yeah.
This
So
year.
we're not sure
different.
that there's gonna be room for both.
But they're not on the
And then there's
list,
been
right?
historical debates about
They're not
whether
on
the
the
vendors
list,
should be placed too
We don't-
close
we
to the
don't-
classes
I have to
and
take
this
the
and
Lions Club's
that.
direction, so
I think
Okay.
that-
they're working that, and I'll, you know, once I know what they're
Yeah,
definitely
all
doing.
part- All of the tables are ones on the east end.
But I think, but this year they're doing
they're
it
adding all the
different.
class tables, so the additional tables.
Because there's no banquet, there's no banquet in the school
Oh.
cafeteria this year.
Mm.
Alumni dinner. So.
I still think we could probably fit them, but we'll see. I guess if we're having fall festival at all first.
The school front lawn there.
Who makes that decision?
The Lions Club.
Lions
Lions
Club,
Club makes the decision
right.
on the fall festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they're gonna discuss it at their meeting on the 1st,
Of September, got it,
right?
obviously.
So I'll find out on the
I believe
2nd.
September's already around the door here.
Next Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you, Sherry. Any other public comment? Questions, concerns? Levi, are you satisfied? Do you have anything else?
Just a motion to adjourn.
Anything else, guys? Okay. We have a motion
Second.
to adjourn at 8:49, seconded by Steven. Any more discussion?
All right.
All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn at 8:49 passes 5-0. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Levi.
Yep, have a good night.
You too. Bye.